I got in the industry in 2008. I first heard about Infinite Bacon, Nelson Nash in 2010. I didn't get my first
Wow.
IUL until 2013. It took me 3 years of, I was doing other
Right.
things, so I say, but it took me
True.
3 years of analyzing how this works. Because when I first heard about it, like most people, I was like, you can't do that with life insurance. That's not what
Mm.
life insurance is for. And then I got my first policy in 2013, started to fund it, started to see what it did. I was like, oh, wow. And then I just dove deeper and deeper into how this works and other aspects of it, which, the book will get into that. But on the base level, just seeing it work for me. And there's things that I didn't expect to be benefits. Like when we did finally move down to Puerto Rico, my family moved down there about 6 years ago. We actually used my first IUL I got in 2013 to borrow from to put the down payment on the house that we built when we first moved there. Right?
Seriously,
Yeah, like that the whole move. Like if it wasn't
dude.
for that policy, that move to Puerto Rico, like we probably still would have made it, but it would have been different. It would have been more difficult. I wouldn't have got the house that I wanted to get because the money probably would have already been spent. But
Mm.
because by that time the policy had accrued like $160,000 in value, and I was able to
Dang.
pull out 95% of that and use that as part of that down payment, and then we've paid it
Wow.
back by now, right? Like, I mean, that's the power of these things. Like,
That's
it's a
awesome.
it's a great death benefit, but like I get to use it now.
What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. Dude, I've been getting a lot of questions about life insurance and IULs and tax-free retirement and advising. And I got one of my good buddies that I've had on the channel just a few times over the years, and he is rolling out a new book called Tax-Free Living. Please welcome back Edward Pritchett. What's up, buddy?
Good to be here, man. I'm always excited to spend a little time with you, whether it's in Springfield, Missouri, or while I'm here in Denver and you're probably in Springfield right now. So
Yes, yes. I don't know that like we love hanging out together, but I don't know that Springfield is like the top of the list for you to hang out with me.
not the top, but it's actually up there. Like if we like go down to the Ozarks a little bit, hit up Big Cedar, stuff like that. We'll have to get on the
Yeah, yeah,
lake
yeah.
sometime. That may change
There
my
we go.
perspective a little bit more.
I like that. We need to do a retreat for agents where you get top of the rock and, Table Rock
Yes.
Lake and all that, right?
Sign me up for that. I'm ready.
Let's go. I love it. Well, dude, so what inspired the book? Like you've been on the channel a bunch. You've had I think our most popular podcast ever was with you years ago. If you guys haven't checked it out, research Edward Pritchett, Cody Ashkins, and you'll see it. But what inspired the book?
Well, I mean, I've been, and we all, like, if you're in the insurance space right now, you've heard about infinite banking, you've seen all the TikToks about, become your own bank and get at taxes and debt and all these other things. And
Yeah.
I've digested so much of the material out there around this concept, right? I mean, David McKnight to Garrett Gunders, I mean, there's so much out there,
It's a
right?
lot.
And you know, I think there's a lot of stuff that can help clients, but the missing component is making sure that agents understand it well enough to be able to have the
Mhm.
discussion with their clients in an educated way and to be able to give their clients something that they'll actually engage with and start the education process. Because this isn't like selling a whole life policy or selling a term policy, right? Where it's just
Yeah.
like, this is what it does. Here's the benefits. Here's the riders. You pay $50 a month and you got some insurance, right?
Yeah.
You have to understand the machinations of this particular product, right?
Mm.
If you get an IUL or you get a par whole life and you want to use it to pay off debt, to lead to this point of being able to live in a tax-free way by drawing off of the balance of those accounts that grow, you have to understand how to do that. And seeing what that looks like in a lifelike environment, that's
Yes.
what the impetus was for the book. We like to read all these wonderful self-help books, and one of my favorite authors is Patrick Lencioni.
Mm,
And he has this great book, The Ideal Team Player, where it tells an amazing story about where you fit in an organization in an allegorical way, right? Like you follow this guy as he goes through this journey, and so that's the ideal behind tax-free living. And we're still playing with the title; it's not going to be released until later on in October. But the ideal is that you as an agent can follow this guy through his journey, but better yet, you hand one of these
yes.
to your client and they actually go through the story with them. Like they get to imprint themselves as the hero in their story, just like this protagonist has been the hero in his story. And
Mm,
when they are seeing themselves as this guy, this couple that's going through this process, now whenever they have that next conversation with you, it's like, all right, I want to start just like they did. And
yeah.
that's the ideal behind it. And it's also going to continue to be as they keep going down that path. It just opening up the policy is not the end of it. You got to do some steps along the way. And that's what this hopefully will allow people to really take full advantage of an amazing tool that we have in our arsenal, which is
Yep.
IUL and par whole life policies.
And the good news is you didn't have to have wrestled or had an engineering degree from Yale.
You don't have to, and I think it may actually hurt you a little bit. You get a little overly analytical sometimes. Uh, it took me. I was in the industry, Cody. I got in the industry in 2008. I first heard about Infinite Bacon, Nelson Nash in 2010. I didn't get my first IUL until 2013. It took me 3 years of, I was doing other
Right.
things, so I say, but it took me
Sure.
3 years of analyzing how this works. Because when I first heard about it, like most people, I was like, you can't do that with life insurance. That's not what
Mm,
life insurance is for. And then I got my first policy in 2013, started to fund it, started to see what it did. I was like, oh, wow. And then I just dove deeper and deeper into how this works and other aspects of it, which, the book will get into that. But on the base level, just seeing it work for me. And there's things that I didn't expect to be benefits. Like when we did finally move down to Puerto Rico, my family moved down there about 6 years ago. We actually used my first IUL I got in 2013 to borrow from to put the down payment on the house that we built when we first moved there. Right?
seriously,
Yeah, like that the whole move. Like if it wasn't
dude.
for that policy, that move to Puerto Rico, like we probably still would have made it, but it would have been different. It would have been more difficult. I wouldn't have got the house that I wanted to get because the money probably would have already been spent. But
Mm,
because by that time the policy had accrued like $160,000 in value, and I was able to
dang.
pull out 95% of that and use that as part of that down payment, and then we've paid it
Wow.
back by now, right? Like, I mean, that's the power of these things. Like,
That's
it's a
awesome.
it's a great death benefit, but like I get to use it now, you know. So
Yes.
I just
That
I really I have a passion for it because it is directly impacting me like today, not like sometime in the future.
Yep. Well, and I love that because there's a lot of and number one, it shows you believe in it, right? And you have a real story of how it's impacted you and your family, which is awesome. I did not. We've spent days together, and I've never heard that story, right? Which is
Yeah,
so cool. And how it like talk about tax free living and how you're moving to Puerto Rico with your family. Obviously, you're saving money in taxes by living in Puerto Rico, but all like talk about tax free living, but then also like, hey, we're able to pull out 150 grand out of an IUL, tax-free life insurance policy to help with the down payment of like the home, all this stuff. Like that's cool. Like the tying all that into a book makes so much sense. Also, you teach agents and advisors this, but you're also really, I think the main purpose of the book is actually to help consumers and
yeah,
clients.
yeah.
Talk about how you're going to use this asset, the book, Tax Free Living.
Yeah, I mean, for myself and my team, as I do things, social media, right? Like, I didn't want to write a book. I'll be honest. Was
Yeah.
not, it was an idea that was brought to me, and I was like, all right, let's sit down and let's see what 3 chapters looks like, and then we'll go from there. But the
Yeah, because you have
ideal
so
is
much time. You have so much time on
so
your
much
hands.
time, free time, all over the place. That's what having 4 kids. If you want more time, have 4 kids, and you'll have more
Woo.
time. Um, but it was the ideal of like what can help my agents do better on this IUL par whole life
Mm.
conversation, right? We have software to help them run illustrations and plug a life insurance illustration and give a report to the client about here's how you can get out of debt and here's what it'll do for you long term. We have videos that they can watch. Um, we have a lot of things that they can potentially engage in, but there was never just that like outside of handing your client Nelson Nash's book, which I
Mm.
don't recommend that route. I mean, for maybe if you're engineers, if you have an engineer, hand them Nelson Nash's book on infinite banking, and the engineers will love it, right?
Yeah.
But most people like it just it's too much, right? Like
Yeah.
it's too much, too many numbers. Like they can't follow. There's not a storyline. And what we see these days is if people have a story, if they have
Mm.
someone who they can go on the journey with them, and it can be presented in a way that this could be a journey that you could also take, right?
Sure.
And so it's meant to be a tool for my agents to be able to use to help educate their clients in a passive way, because
Mm.
this is one of those things where what's the old adage, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still, right?
Mhm.
So like if I just go and tell you, Cody, man, did you know if you got this life insurance policy, you can get out of debt, you can build a cash value pool of money that you can access anytime you want to, and you can fund your retirement in a tax-free way. All you got to do is put $1,000 a month in it for the next 40 years. You're gonna be like, okay, like I don't really
Yeah,
believe you. I don't
yeah.
know what that is, but thanks for telling me. And you're gonna move on. It's like, man, I just read this book about this concept that like I didn't really understand it at first, but like it's a really cool story. I thought
Mm.
of you. I want you to take a look at it. And now you read the story and you start seeing what happens and you start inserting yourself into that story. Next thing you know, you have questions. And you go back to the so is that like a real thing that you can do, or is that just a story? Oh
Mm.
no, like it's like it says, like it's a real thing you can do. Or is that something you're interested in? And now you're not giving them the solution. They of their own mind, right? They came up with the solution themselves, right? Because they saw it somewhere else. Why do we come up with any solution that we come up with? We've seen it somewhere else. Like I
Mm.
saw it on TikTok, I saw it on Facebook, I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
I heard about it from a friend, I read about it in a book. And so that's the ideal for this to be that piece of client engagement that the client gets a chance to, in their own time, develop this as a solution for themselves, and you as the agent who presented that to them, of course, you're gonna your name's on the back of it, or like you put your however you want to make sure you do your follow up, but you're giving them that opportunity that once they go through it, they're like, man, that'd be amazing if I could do that for myself.
Mm.
Let me call him back and see if this is and now you have a totally different kind of appointment. It's not an appointment
Yes.
where you have to educate them on the broad strokes. Now you get down to the fine details and their solution for what they see as their problem. And we know that the product is there to be able to answer that.
Yeah, you even talk about this too and train on this. You've talked about this a lot recently with like solution-oriented selling, where it's trying to make it the consumer involved and engaged and feel like, they're a part of the decision, and that they're discovering the solution versus you just giving them the solution immediately.
Yeah.
Talk through some of those things you've been doing to kind of tie these two concepts together.
I mean, I think it goes back to this ideal that we've all heard. No one wants to be sold, but everyone loves to buy,
Mhm.
right? And whenever we pick up the phone to call a lead, whenever we're sitting down discussing with the client, most of us have been trained. I know I was trained on the consultative methodology, right? Is like
Mhm.
I'm the attorney that's going to sit down here and consult with you on what we're going to do, and then I'm going to give you what you should do at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
And that has worked. I think when the way people were, for lack of a better word, were trained to be and behave,
Mhm.
in the 60s, 70s, 80s, like consultative
Mm.
approach worked. Now
True.
we have Google, we have Yahoo, we have Bing, we have Reddit, we have TikTok, we have keep right. We can keep going on that
Yeah.
list. There are
Yeah.
so many places that people are going to get their information, right? You may be the expert. Like, how many people go to WebMD to diagnose everything that's going on with them, and then they go to their doctor and say, "Hey, doc, I figured it out," right? Like, they're
Yeah.
telling the doctors what's going on, and hey, I need you to give me this prescription or that prescription, or this is what we're going to do. And so the same thing is happening and has happened for clients of insurance products.
Mm.
They have the information out there. So if I go in and I'm just trying to consult them into my solution, then
Yeah.
I'm going to rub them against the grain of human psychology, right? Like, human psychology says, I make my decisions. You don't decide for me. I'm smart. I might be getting advice from you, but I'm going to decide for me. And
Mm.
this idea of keeping solution focus in mind, it comes from that place of where if I can understand their situation, I help them develop that awareness about, here's the problem, right? Through good question asking, they let me know what they think, like, after they tell me the problem, what they think the solution is, right? If they know they have a problem, if we have enough question answer time, and they present, okay, here's my problem, Edward. Like, we're $170,000 in debt. We make good money, but I just can't seem to make ends meet. My
Mm.
family's protected, but if I died, I know we're going to be in a lot of trouble, and I don't have a big hope for my retirement. That's my problem, and it keeps me up all night. I'm worried about it, and I've heard that there might be something within life insurance that can help me out. Right there's your key. Like, that person already
Yeah.
has a solution in mind. So now I need to find out more about that. So tell me a little bit about what you've heard. Why haven't you tried it out? Okay, what information do you have? What are you still missing before you can start that solution? Okay,
Mm.
right. And I'm walking through all solution focused, because if I'm solution focused, now whenever it does come time to present my product that answers their solution, we don't even have a sale. I'm just helping that gentleman, that person, buy the solution that
Yeah.
they've been looking for, and they just never could figure out how to get it. And
Mm.
that's where this ideal of, like, I'm asking questions to figure out what their solution is. I may get into, so, okay, if we don't do this, what are the consequences of not following through with the solution that you've decided on, right? And
Yes.
now this is not my ideal. This didn't come out of Edward's head, and I just, like, handed them, no, here's your life insurance for today that I magically conjured up. It's like, this is what they've been thinking about, what they've been working on.
Correct.
They're the hero in the story. They're Luke
That's
Skywalker. I'm Yoda. Like, I'm not trying to be Luke Skywalker. I'm trying to be
yeah.
Yoda. I'm trying to be a good guide for my clients. I'm trying to be a good guide for my agents, and that's what makes this work. That's what this ideal of being solution focused really can get me into that right mindset of questioning to be able to get me to that point.
I love that. I'm excited for the book, by the way. I'm excited to read it. This because here's what's happened too with this whole concept is infinite banking, IUL, et cetera. It's become very like literally borderline mainstream to where like you can't go anywhere without hearing about this concept online. Maybe it's just because
Yeah.
I'm in the industry. I just see all the ads and all this other stuff, but it gets talked about a lot. And naturally, there's some misinformation and some different things. What was that? Um, what really spurred the decision? Like, okay, we finally need to buckle down and do this and write this book.
Some of the things you just said, it's out there, and there's a lot of people talking about it. You talk to some of the major carriers that write a lot of it, your Mutual Trust, National Life Group, Lafayette, Foresters, F&G. Like, you talk to those carrier reps, like, how much actual production are y'all seeing from that concept? And it's a lot smaller than you would think, given
Mm,
the talk that's happened out there. And I think a lot of the talk is people kind of hear and get some little nuggets about the concept, and they go out and try to do it,
yeah,
but then they struggle with the implementation. Because, like I said, this is not I sell you a policy and you just start going and living a tax-free life.
yeah.
That's kind of how it gets sold a lot out there. Is like, I get you an IUL policy and now you're good to go. This is a relationship. This is,
Mm,
you're helping someone set up their own family office, basically, right? This is where, like, I actually
yeah.
had one of my clients, who has an IUL policy with me, or actually she has a par whole life policy with me. the initial impetus was to get her out of debt, and then the long term is the retirement aspect of it. And I mean, she's calling me up, 3, 4 years later since from when she got it, and we're still having to walk through some components to make sure she's doing the things correctly and right. So like there's
Mm.
a long-term commitment to it, and to have
Yeah.
a a map, right? To have a guide map for your clients on these are the steps that you're going to be taking, not just now when we get the policy, but over time. That's what most organizations that I've seen, and then there could be somebody out there that has something like this,
Sure.
but that's what most people are missing to actually get that long-term adoption, because people will get it, right? They'll have it for a year. They were promised certain things that's going to happen, sounds like instantly.
Yeah.
And because the expectation doesn't meet with reality, they throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mm.
They're like, oh, I'm not living tax free now. He said I'd have thousands of dollars built up over here. And, why does the balance say zero? Well, they didn't talk about, well, with the IUL, first couple of years, it's probably going to be a zero balance, right?
Mm.
Our whole life, if we're trying to get out of debt, maybe that's where I need to go, because the cash value accrues more quickly on a par whole life. And I still get that solid 3.8 to 4.2% return. I might not get the potential gains on the I. So like these are the things, right, that
That's
don't
right.
get broken down and get just kind of glanced over really quickly.
Yeah.
And the ideal for the book is to let them spend some time with it. Let them spend some time with this protagonist that is having to make these choices and weigh these options, and they get to put themselves into his shoes as he's going through that process, right? And now, whenever they're having a conversation with their agent, if they're working with a bright, I'm gonna say, a bright agent that helps them go through the questions that they need to answer, manages expectations correctly, and then sets them up for long-term success. That's the only way this thing is really going to be the revolution. Like everybody talks about how revolutionary, generational changing that this is going to be. We're not really seeing it yet because it's not really being set up correctly. And if
Mm.
we can start getting it set up correctly, it will start to do exactly what everybody is claiming, because people will be using it in the right way.
Yeah. If they want to learn how to use it correctly and check out the book for themselves and even start to give it to clients, um, what should they do or where should they go?
Well, book won't be launching or releasing until mid-October.
Okay.
And for right now, they can go to tax-freeliving.com. So
Very cool.
tax-freeliving.com. Find out a little bit more information about the book. We have pre-sale capability there, so you can go ahead and request it.
Mm.
We'll
Nice.
probably be releasing a couple chapters early there, just as a PDF download for
Cool.
free. They could use it for whatever. And I mean, that's the thing. I hope that people take this, and if people want to take it and go build their own thing with the information in it, please do. I really like. I'm not. I'm not trying to become like Michael Crichton of book selling. Book selling is not where. That's not where I'm trying to make my money. I'm trying to make my money in life insurance, finance,
Yes.
and real estate. Like you know me. Like that's like that. Those are my three
Correct.
wheelhouses. But I know this will be a changer for my agents, for my organization, and allow us to do more. And just like I've said in working with you and 8%, anything that we can do to really level up our entire industry, where we're actually
Yes.
helping more clients, like that helps my agency, right? When we can get away from that stigma of life insurance are just always out there trying to get something for themselves, we start seeing more
Mm.
people really be impacted by what IULs, Par Whole Life, can do for them and their family. You get more testimonials out there, and so that when one of my clients goes and does their research, they see, oh wow, there's a lot of people that are really making this thing work. Right? That's how we
Yeah.
help each other, and that's how we grow this industry as a whole. So yeah, anything from the book, if people want to take it, use it, yeah, feel free. Please do.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming back on the podcast. Thanks for launching the new book, Tax Free Living, in mid October. Super excited for the growth and release of that. And I appreciate you jumping back on the channel.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. Enjoy Denver. Also, as you guys are jumping in and hanging with us. If you haven't tried our CABOOM Leads, you can use coupon code YouTube at kaboomleads.com to get 10% off your very first order. Keep following what Edward's doing. Definitely check out the book at tax-freeliving.com so you can check it out and actually get a copy of your own and read it in mid-October. Thanks for listening to the podcast, and we will see you on the next one. Adios.